So the Micah Parsons trade request drama continues, with Jerry Jones saying that Micah might not play week 1, or he doesn't even know if that's going to be happening. But the weird thing is Micah's already reported to camp, so he has to be playing.
Yes.
Is this just another maneuver by Jerry to make headlines?
No, I don't think it is. Now, will he or won't he play week 1 is interesting, and that is an important clarification. Micah gave up. People famously remember a couple years ago, Chris Jones sitting out week 1, sitting in the luxury box with his agents, watching the Chiefs lose to the Lions. The NFL rules on this are very straightforward. If you never report to training camp, that is your right. And the only punitive measure the team can take against you is financial. $50,000 a day fines and then game checks if you miss games. But other than that, they can't suspend you because of it. Your contract doesn't toll because of it. And you, in theory, could hold out all the way until the night before, I think it's week 10, then show up, play the rest of the year, and get credit for a full season if you're willing to take the financial hit. That's if you never show up. If you do show up, you cannot leave. It's a weird thing when if you show up and then leave, it's like the NFL version of going AWOL in the military. They give you a 5-day letter that says you got to show back up within 5 days. And if you don't, then you are on ice for the year. They can't, even if they say, all right, never mind, we're cool with it 2 weeks later, doesn't matter. You're essentially a retired player for that season, and your contract does not advance a year. So that's why nobody ever shows up and then leaves. You can't do it. That is, so Micah, by showing up, and then when Jerry says he might not play week 1, all that means is that he thinks Micah might be like, my back. But he can't not be there. He can just be like, I'm too injured to play. And the reason, so that I just kind of sets the template for where we are. I want to further flesh out how we got here, because there is an element of this story that I think it's obviously been reported. It's how I know it. I'm not going to act like DeMonte. It hasn't been reported, but I think it has been I don't think it's been focused on enough. And that is this. Jerry Jones has not had one single negotiation with Micah Parsons' agent. I will say that again. Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys have not had a single negotiation with Micah Parsons' agent. There is absolutely no justification for that whatsoever. Jerry has made it clear since Micah's trade demand, he has not talked to Micah or his agent. There is absolutely no justification for that whatsoever. Jerry has made it clear he believes he and Micah came to terms on a deal. You guys know how I feel about that I think that holding a non-negotiating party to a deal that was struck via handshake with a negotiating party is unethical. But even if you think that should be the framework of the deal, Jerry needs to communicate that to Micah's agent. And the fact that they will not negotiate, even if we think it's a combination of, well, Jerry's being stubborn and thinks he and Micah have a handshake deal, and the fact that Jerry doesn't mind the Cowboys staying in the headlines, so he'll just get this done in late August or early September like he did with Dak and CeeDee, I think undersells the damage with Jerry's commentary the last week he has done to this relationship. Now, is it salvageable? Sure. But there's two prongs here that, in my opinion, are pretty clearly problematic. Prong one is, even if it gets done on the timeline of Dak the night before the first game, Dak was practicing. Dak was in doing all of the stuff to get ready for the season. Micah's out there just chilling. And if the Cowboys play the freaking Philadelphia Eagles week 1, if they have any hope of having a surprisingly great season, that starts with a fast start, with upsetting the Eagles in week 1, and you're off to the races. You're now obviously behind the 8 ball on that. But the other, I think, longer lasting concern is this is real damage to the trust and relationship you have between you and your best player. And no one has properly explained any justification for how Jerry's handled this. There is no... Go ahead.
You said Jerry needs to be talking to his agent. Is his agent reaching out to Jerry? Like, is Jerry just saying, like, we won't talk?
No, so the 105.3 The Fan in Dallas yesterday reported that the agent reached out twice in the last 18 months. And that the Cowboys won't call him.
Jerry's just saying we
and won't engage. Say it again?
Jerry's just saying we already have it in writing.
No, not in writing. That we have a handshake deal. Jerry's saying it's not in writing, but we have it agreed upon. But here's the other problem with that. And this is, yesterday's price is not today's price. If you agreed to it in March and you think that's the deal that should have been done, you should have figured out a way to get it signed in March. But you also, here is the problem with Jerry's comment this week about, I bought the Cowboys on a handshake deal. 100% that happens. Like, big, high level business and real estate transactions and acquisitions and mergers, all this stuff, that happens over a dinner or on the golf course, general framework, handshake, all the time. But that is when both parties involved are their organization's lead negotiator. And the comp I used on TV yesterday that I was hesitant to use, but because it has bad connotations, but I don't think anyone will misinterpret it. It's why if you're questioned by the police, you say, I don't want to talk to you. My lawyer's going to. I pay this guy to do this for me. Now, my lawyer cannot agree to a plea bargain without me signing off on it. I am the final yes or no, but I am not engaging with you, professional interrogators or negotiators, depending on the analogy you want to use, when I'm not that. And so I do think, there's a lot of business that is done where you verbally in a meeting agree to something and then you paper it later. But first of all, that has to involve the people who are supposed to be the ones negotiating. And second of all, that absolutely runs the risk of facts on the ground changing and a deal not being signed. And so I like Micah. Full disclosure, I know Micah a little bit, but he hasn't been talking to me about his negotiation. But I've never disliked Jerry Jones. I have found him cartoonish at times, a bit of a carnival barker, but I think he serves a purpose in the NFL. But this is ridiculous. And to just once again remind the audience of, before we move on, the thing we did on Tuesday about this, Micah's draft class. The first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, got a contract extension, top of the market. The fifth overall pick, Jamar Chase, got a contract extension, top of the market. The sixth overall pick, Jalen Waddle, got a contract extension, top of the market at the time for wide receiver 2s. The seventh overall pick, Penei Sewell, got a contract extension, top of the market for offensive tackles. The eighth overall pick, J.C. Horn, and the ninth overall pick, Pat Surtain II, got contract extensions, top of the market for corners. The 10th overall pick, Devontae Smith, got a contract extension at the top of the wide receiver 2 market. And the 13th overall pick, Rashawn Slater, got a contract extension at the top of the tackle market. The top 13 picks from that draft 4 years ago who have not gotten extensions are Zach Wilson, who's been on a bunch of teams, Trey Lance, who's been on a bunch of teams, Kyle Pitts, who has underwhelmed, Justin Fields, who's been on a bunch of teams, and Micah freaking Parsons. It's an outrage. And it's an outrage to not directly negotiate with Micah. Now, with Micah's agent, pardon me. Now, if after directly negotiating with David Mulugheta, you then determine Micah wants $50 million a year with $200 million guaranteed, then you can break off negotiations. Then you can say, too rich for our blood. But to never negotiate with him, and to instead hide behind, we came to a handshake deal in March, is absolute nonsense.
Has your, I know you're trying to finish up, but has your likely maybe what if from Tuesday changed isn't he?
I still think it's likely the Cowboys re-sign him. But I now would say maybe that he just plays out this year. And the what if is what if they trade him. And I saw the Aaron Donald, if he got traded to the Rams, he'd come out of retirement thing. I don't think the Rams can make it work. But Micah, Jared Verse, and an out of retirement Aaron Donald would be pretty sick.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, I wouldn't be so worried about Matt Stafford's back.